Many thanks for staying tuned on Political Spectrum. Just before we went on that break, we were trying to establish connection with our guest for today in the person of Dr. Wisdom Enang. Dr. Wisdom Enang is a political analyst and a technocrat, of course, also an energy analyst. Dr. Enang, you're welcome on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, apologies for the rocky network situation. I am glad we were able to address that.
Absolutely.
Well, just before we had those issues with the network, I was putting a question across as regards the FCT situation and the insecurity issues that we have recorded there. I know that recently you were in Abuja, and I don't know if you're still there or if you're back, but then I was going to ask what you feel as regards the ambience in Abuja when you were there. Is it truly that bad as we hear it?
So I think there are two sets of things here. The first one is that, yes, the insecurity is a big problem. I think the second would be that there is really no pattern to it. I think before now, used to be you were out and about. You would probably be a victim at the wrong time if you're out and about. But now I think the risk profile is even coming to the people. So we're hearing kidnapping in some of those estates that people do reside. The other thing is there is this also the panic factor that is, being amplified by the security situation. So people are having different panics, and for good reasons. And then, of course, the fourth thing is the fact that there are other opportunistic crime that is going on, because with the general security situation that is distracting the security forces, then of course some criminals are taking advantage of that to sort of create their own petite crimes, knowing that the security outfits in Abuja right now are overstretched. So we're now having opportunistic crime. So the combination of all these four factors, in fact, do point to the fact that Abuja is really right now it's a little bit unsafe, and it also points to the fact that I think we need to get our security situation addressed pretty soon. And I say this for reasons, because you can see that the security issue is mutating very dangerously. We started by having, I think it was kidnapping on the outskirts and insecurity on the outskirts. And then I think at some point we had the Kuje prison break by the terrorists. And now we're having crime coming into the various estates, however extreme all those estates are. Before you know it, we're going to have criminals coming into the main central Abuja. So there's a mutation that is going on because the crime is evolving. And this is why we need to stop it before it becomes a resistant mutation.
Okay. Well, some good news had actually come in on Saturday as regards the rescue of 5 of the abducted sisters, even though we had lost one of them. How would you respond to this rescue, especially in light of the fact that there were rumors that 100 million naira needed to be paid to secure their rescue, but the police are saying that it was a concerted effort and the ability to rescue those abducted victims was a coordinated effort by the force?
Yeah, the thing is, we can only hope that the rescue was a product of, intelligence and not succumbing to the demands of the kidnappers. But then again, this is just one out of a number of crimes that is actively going on at the moment in Abuja. So if I say 1 out of, say, 200 cases, is that enough a victory for the security forces? By no, by no, measure is that a victory sign. It's just if that case was solved by intelligence, that's just one of. we're not looking at security of just one set of people or solving one, crime or, sort of intervening in one case. We're looking at security as it affects a proactive protection of people's lives and property. So I like to go on, I always say, a PDRL mode. So what I mean by that is P is for predict, D is for detect, R is for respond, R is for recover. What that means is the first sort of intuition that you want to have as a security person is to be able to predict things before they happen. So how do you do that? If I were to be in the security, starting with the responsibility of providing security for lives and properties, the first thing I'd like to know is what is our volatility map? So on the map, we have three colors. The first will be the red color for a place that is very insecure, meaning we would need to respond with the right level of security in there and surveillance. The second map will be the orange map, which has to do with a place that has crime here and there, but of course not too serious, not too severe. We know how to respond accordingly. The third color on that map will be the green zones, where we really have crime and everything is settled. That way, we can be able to allocate security outfits in the right quantity, the right skill set, and of course, with the right prioritization. That's for the predict. The detect means how are we getting information? These guys live with people in the society. Are we, is there something that we need to do? For example, in the U.S., there are ransoms that are put forward, and if you have information leading to a crime being solved, that money is given to you. So how do we detect crime? How is our network? Are we working in silos? Are we aware that there are other law enforcement agencies that we can partner with? Of course, are we aware that the members of the public are one of the biggest sources of information in developed crime when it comes to solving crimes? How are we detecting crime? What is our response and our recovery, modes and kind of mindset like? How are we positioned to respond and recover? Of course, if you're solving crime in Abuja, when those personnel come to Abuja, do they have the right orientation to understand the psychology of criminals in Abuja, which could be very different from the one in Benin or in Lagos or even in Akwa Ibom? So, of course, it's going to be a systematic approach to enhancing the security in this country. And, of course, collaboration with other security outfits and collaboration with the members of the society and the public is very important and instrumental to a sustainable solution in this regard.
Another issue to look at, Dr. Enang, would be the issue of payment of these ransoms. Now, we could tell that the defense minister, Badaru, had come out to say during the FEC meeting last week that he is discouraging people paying ransoms to these kidnappers because it is only going to fuel their resolve in going after hapless citizens of Nigeria. Wike, the FCT minister, also re-echoed this stance because we also had reports that these victims of kidnapping had visited radio stations clamoring for funds to be raised for them in order to be able to pay off the kidnappers to rescue their loved ones. And it becomes very dicey, an issue that is not easily answerable, especially with the fact that emotions and relationships are involved. It is simply not easy to say, don't pay ransom. What about the people involved? These people have loved ones who want them back home, especially considering the painful circumstances surrounding their disappearance. What would you say as regards the issue of payment of ransom?
All right. So the way I like to tackle this is I'm going to use what I call a CSC approach, which is the cause, the action, and the consequences. And that's something that we need to understand. Now, what causes people to go and, okay, what's the cause here? The cause is the kidnapping that is going on. What is the action here? people are desperate and need to pay ransom, what is the consequences here? Kidnappers are more incentivized to go ahead and do more crime because they know that there's an active measure for people to bring the money to them. You cannot solve this problem because they're so intertwined in a very complicated way, the CSC model. You cannot solve this problem without, in fact, having to, accept some responsibility. And this is me talking to the law enforcement outfit. They should know that there's a relationship between the crime, the reaction from the people, and the consequences of those reactions. And so it's not excusable. You cannot tell people not to do whatever they can do to solve and to help their loved ones. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Even in the U.S., ransom sometimes are paid. However, what they do, they get serial numbers of those bills and then begin to trade large deposits, and then, of course, deposits of large amounts of money with those serial numbers. But what am I saying here is that you cannot detect people how they would live their life and how they respond to situations after the fact. Because the protection of lives and properties is the primary responsibility of the security outfit, which of course is also a representation of the Nigerian government. So the truth is this: it's inexcusable for the government or the Nigerian police to feel they can give a direction, or whoever is the representative of the government to feel they can give a direction on how people will respond. Rather, let's focus on preventing the manifestation of course, that relationship between the cause, action, and consequences.
Well, Doctor, I don't know if you are also following the trajectories in the country and what happens within the security wing of our country, especially as regards the guarding of VIPs in the country, juxtaposing that with the security of the citizens. Now, we have reports that most of these policemen are designated to guard VIPs at the detriment of the citizens who really need these workforce to be able to tackle the security situation in the country. How can we reconcile these issues as regards security and the deficit of it?
Yeah, I mean, let me be very clear that, for example, in the UK, the US, I think there's something called private security, that people get to protect them. Also in Nigeria, I think let's tackle the right problem. I don't think the quota of security that is assigned to the VIPs in any way and form would be the determinant factor for the lack of the right amount of security for protecting the country. Now, we've never actually had the police force come out and say that they were able to protect the country because they were assigned to VIPs. I think that is a factor, but it's a distracting factor because it's not a significant factor. What I think is the main factor here is, what is the welfare of this police like? What equipment are they given? And how attractive is the police force? I was in the UK, and people would actually come out of secondary school saying that they want to go to a police college to actively be a police person. And then, of course, you understand that there's a range of career options in front of them. But what attracted them to the police force was, of course, the fact that there was some sort of competitiveness in terms of looking at the workforce and that attractiveness factor. But in here in Nigeria, I've never seen anybody just say, I want to be a police officer. I've never seen it. It's usually, okay, after a while, maybe they don't have a job and they say, oh, police is recruiting, I'm going in there. So, I mean, there's need to rebrand the police. We need to rebrand it to be an attractive thing where people enter it because they're conscientiously believing that they have value for it. The second thing is this, the equipment. And also, of course, when you make it attractive, you have no numbers. I would say that if I divide the ratio of population, the population to the number of police, I would say that we are on the police. And I think that statistics was made a number of years ago that Nigeria is actually on the police. But you would need to make the profession a lot more attractive to be able to get more people in there. And of course, you need to give them the right equipment to be able to work. And of course, the right support. And I think these are the important things. The number, and I'm just looking for the statistical standpoint, that the number of police attached to the VIPs doesn't in any way scratch the number of police that we have in a way that would affect, in a detrimental way, that would affect the policing experience in Nigeria. I don't think that's true.
Well, looking at the security situation in the country, we seem to still have challenges with getting it right, especially seeing these pockets of insecurity incidences rearing up its ugly head every now and then in different quarters of the country, and they're coming really closer to other parts of the country that's not really having it that bad. What is really your candid advice to government in terms of what should be done, the practical steps that needs to be taken to ensure that a holistic measure is taken to nip these security issues in the bud? We've had information that the economic situation in the country and the fact that people don't really, have it good, have it smooth, are contributory factors to the security situation, and they are inalienable. You cannot separate them. What are those steps that government needs to take to ensure that we can have it, better?
Okay, I think I've said it before. We need to be a lot more systematic with our security implementation plan. I think the first thing is we need to, declare. I wouldn't say an open state of emergency, but more of a covert state of emergency on the situation, and just say, look, we were unable to handle this using the normal method, and so we must adopt a very more aggressive method. I think a lot of collaboration needs to happen, because if you look at what's going on in Abuja, I can tell you without a doubt that a quarter of the crime that is committed in Abuja stems from some of the porous borders that we have up north. And that porous borders allows some of the militants from abroad, neighboring countries, to come in and kind of infiltrate, and of course our criminal networks, as well as affect, sort of train them and equip them, of course, to cause mayhem. And that you need to take very seriously. So I don't see policing as something that is not for the Nigerian police. Everybody, the army, whatever they do, their action and inaction affects the state of policing in Nigeria. So the army, you and I, everybody needs to be an integrated model that looks at how can we enhance the system, not just for the police, the Nigerian police, but the system of security for everybody. That's on one part. On the other part, I would like to tell the state government, please, 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 do not wait for a centralized police to protect you, because we've had issues on this. Who are they taking orders from? Is it the governor or the president or the presidency? It's all mixed up. Please, get your own security outfit, but of course, let it be a security outfit that's ethical, that's trained. Of course, I would not advise the use of lethal forces, but rather let it be a security force that will sort of amplify the security intelligence gathering aspect. That is very critical. The guys in the neighborhood, like we have the neighborhood watch in our apartments, they know better. They know the environment better. They know you and I. They know the people living in there. And they also know where the volatile points are and who are the people that are the flash sources for crime perpetration. So whenever a crime is committed, they know where to start searching. That is a lot better than if we have an external person going to look where he has no clue about what the environment looks like to start with. So I would say that the state government should raise efforts that would help with intelligence gathering, and that the police, the Nigerian police, should please come out of silos, working in silos, and collaborate with the security outfits at even the state level so that they can do a lot of intelligence gathering, which is actually a precursor to being able to proactively mitigate crimes even before they materialize.
Well, we know that in the country, some state governments are already creating some security outfits to help in the security situation in their respective countries, even here in Akwa Ibom State. But then, why is it that the issue of community policing is not really something that the federal government is giving heed to? It's as if they're shying away from that subject anytime it comes up. Is there really something hidden that we are not hearing about? Is there something wrong with having community police at the state level that the federal government doesn't want us to know?
I think this is what you need to understand, that in administration today in Nigeria, political interest seems to take an overarching philosophy, overarching, kind of basis than governance interest. And this is something that you need to understand. Why do I say this? We have seen in some states where within the police force itself, you are having say, for example, maybe, let's take two, the Nigerian police and the DSS, you are having a showdown over a political interest between perhaps the DSS and, of course, the Nigerian police force. So you need to, the question that comes to mind is, there are merits and there are demerits. Nothing depends on the individual, and sadly, the individual that is in control. And sadly, I think this is really sad to know that in Nigeria today, governance is still about individuals and not institutions. And that is a very sad thing to even begin to think about. Now, the question I would ask you, and anybody that cares to hear, is what would happen if you start a state police and it is handled by, say, a governor that, of course, it's not really, doesn't have that much interest for peace? What do you think is going to convert that state police to? And the state police is going to be controlled by which, is it still going to be under the Nigerian force superintended by the Nigerian police force, or is it going to be the local state, policing outfits? Will they have their own control command? And if they're taking orders from the governor, what's the possibility that many years down the line, the governor who is less interested about security will not come and use it for his own purpose? So, of course, there are checks and balances. Sort of reforms of that nature are things that you weigh it very carefully, because if you don't, it could go really bad. So I think they're not shying away, at least I know. But if you're talking about, of course, there's room for security outfits, but when you're talking about police with lethal force, you need to be careful so you don't put, in the name of police, you put a local militia that would be, that would go around causing mayhem and used by politicians. So you've got to be very careful. This is a terrain where you sort of do not adopt everything, just the way you see it out there. You need to wear the peculiarities of the Nigerian, of course, the Nigerian, environment, and then adapt your solutions accordingly.
All right, Doctor. Well, that leads me to the next issue on the paper this morning. The issue of local government administration. It's quite, in a way, it's similar to this issue of community policing that we're talking about. Now, the former Minister of Health, Olorunimbe Mamora, had said that governors destroyed the local government administration in Nigeria by imposing caretaker chairmen on the people at the grassroots and failing to allow the conduct of free and fair polls at the local government level. And he tried to trace and date back when the issue of the local government administration and the negatives that accompanied it started way back to the Obasanjo administration. What would you have to say about the local government administration in Nigeria as we know it currently?
I think let me address the issue of transition committee. I think what he's saying is completely not true. And the truth is, that is looking at it from one perspective. The transition committee, that statement that he has made will be valid if the transition committee was more of a permanent plan. But that transition committee, as we know it, is a transition plan. Okay, so supposing we don't have money for elections and we just want to put in an interim, because they can't be vacuum in governance. We want to put that gap, that stop gap, to allow us to prepare for elections. Say we don't have the funding available for election in a particular year. There's absolutely nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong. Provided the transition committee is not your full-time plan. It's actually a transition plan as it is. Do not make it a recurring decimal. Now, the second thing I'd like to say that thing is, when there's any deviation, so there's something, you can establish something as a norm in law or in governance rather, but just because that thing is the norm does not mean that there couldn't be deviations to it, provided the law allows such deviations. And if he feels that that law is not permitting a deviation that has occurred, then of course someone can take it to court. But once you take it to court and someone has only done a transition for 6 months, he'll tell you, look, I've just come into office, I'm trying to settle, and then we can run an election. So within that framework, that's valid. That is a very valid statement. Now, the other thing that I'd like to say is this. When it comes to having for local government autonomy, now you need to understand, in a system of governance, whereby the local government are keyed in and they are aligned with the center and the state government's dreams for each local government strategic outlook. It will be fantastic, it will be easy. But now what I'm saying to you is, which one takes the precedence or the priority in Nigeria? Is it politics or is it governance? It's always politics. So sometimes you go do local government autonomy, it becomes a very distracting thing for the guy at the center, because the local government guys just want to do what they want to do. We are looking at an integrated economic outlook to how you want to sort of reform the state economy. So I'm going to warn us really carefully, and it's a note of warning to all Nigerians. Let's be careful how we want to adopt democratic values from other people, so that we don't adopt things for which we don't have the imperatives in place for. Because even in Nigeria, we cannot afford true federalism. True federalism says Akwa Ibom will make their wealth, Rivers will make their wealth, and then keep their wealth, and then pay tax to the government. What do you think is going to happen to some of those states that cannot even afford to do anything other than being a civil service state? What do you think will happen? So the truth is, let's be careful. We are practicing quasi federalism and not true federalism. So let's be careful when we start to clamor for democratic values that we don't have the right imperative that will make it a sustainable and successful venture.
Well, we also have reports that there were suggestions that maybe the National Assembly, as we know it today, can be trimmed to ensure that we meet up with the financial issues in the country currently, because we simply don't seem to be able to have the muscle to sustain the large National Assembly that we are currently running. That relates to what you're saying now.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, that we need to really look at. I mean, I'm not going to advocate that we cut National Assembly, that we cut it, but what I'm going to advocate is the time has come that we have lean resources, and we need to look at every arm of government and be able to defend the cost-value ratio of each of those arm of government. And of course, make sure that we can synergize where we need to, make sure that there is no repetition of oversight functions, and just make sure that it fits the purpose. I think this is where we need to go. I'm not going to say cut the number of people in National Assembly from this to that. No. I'm going to say it's time for an inward reflection. There are two ways to do this. So it's either you downsize the number in the governance circuit, or you actually enhance their value. So they are creating more wealth to be able to monetize their expenses. And so, it's not a one-answer-fits-all. It's everybody that is taking a patriotic outlook at reforming Nigeria must consider establishing value for money at every given opportunity, including governance.
But do you agree that I was going to quickly add, do you agree that the governors have a way of influencing what happens at the local government level, especially with the transition chairman being inaugurated by them and selected by them? How free is the local government to discharge its duties? Because they're actually the closest to the grassroots, and they understand better what happens to the people at that level. And how free are they to discharge their duties?
No, so let me let you understand something. Even in the U.S., kind of a system of governance, the federalism, the practice. Obama did come out to say, "This is who I'm supporting for elections," and that's elections, of course. And remember, my good friend, that everything that we do is within the ambience of the law that we practice. I keep telling people the law does not have emotions. We're not looking at the law from a very emotional standpoint. How do we feel? If it's not right, it's not right. If it's right, it's right. That's just the truth. It's black and white. What do I mean by this? The law allows for you to, there shouldn't be a gap in governance, and there's a well-crafted provision for a transition committee, provided that's not the permanent basis for your governance. So whether or not how does it affect this, it's immaterial. What matters is if the man in the center wants to succeed, he definitely needs to understand that he needs to separate politics from governance, even if he puts his brother there. For him to succeed in his administration, he needs to enforce governance, and that's a very separate topic. So what I'm saying is that they're mutually exclusive events, mutually exclusive factors. So it's not, I cannot correlate saying that because they were given that opportunity by a sitting government will affect or will not affect. But politics is a vehicle for you to get in there. When you get in there, you get out of the vehicle and begin administration. And people are not just for how they got there, but the impact they have made through their governance and administration.
Okay. I can understand you to that point, but then I would like to also get clarity as regards the issue where you said some funds may not be available for electoral processes within the local government level. Can we also say the same thing for the state? Can we say, okay, we don't have funds to conduct elections for the state level, for the presidential level, when the time comes? Can we also say that if we can't raise funds for the local government, is it that arm of government is not that important and we can put it on hold?
I think so, but I don't think so. That arm of government is not important. Now, you see, I'm very careful to not try to ratify something that has been legally provisioned for, and that's where I sit here, because, as I said, the questions are more or less asking me to look into the minds of the people that crafted the law the way they have crafted it. That okay. There's provision at the local government for transition if need be. And of course, it will be too long, time. Time will not allow me to go into that. But what I would like to say is that every arm of government is, of course, important. However, what I think is that the people that crafted that law had also started in some level of flexibility at the state level to make sure that it's easy for the governor to handle and take full control of that state. And of course, the control has to take the full responsibility for what happens in the state. So whether I see it as whether it's important or not, that's not the case. I think I want to see it as a layer of flexibility for the state government and nothing more. I think that is, because what you're asking is what would have gone into the thoughts of the minds of people that crafted it that way, and this is what strikes me first once I think about them.
Okay. As we begin to round up now, Dr. Enang, Another issue that we were going to discuss today is the issue of brain drain in the country and the Japa syndrome, as we call it currently. We see a lot of Nigerians, very promising ones, leaving the country and migrating to other parts of the world, searching for greener pastures away from the country of their home, and of course most of the times where they went to school and acquired their degrees. This has in a way affected the economic situation in the country, also especially in the health sector, and this of course has been further blamed on the economic woes that we are experiencing currently and people leaving the country for other parts of the world. How would you react to this and the issue of brain drain?
Yeah, I mean, the issue of brain drain is a very, it's one of those things that has happened before now, but of course it's amplified, in recent times because of the economic hardship. And it's even interesting that Nigerians are no more. Before now, I used to hear, relocation to the UK, US, Canada, Australia. Those were the kind of top countries I was hearing. Now I'm hearing even countries that are normally I wouldn't hear, things like Finland. I'm hearing even things like Thailand. I'm hearing
people just want to leave Nigeria. They just want to leave this vicinity.
Of course. So, but the question I want to ask people is this: when people want to leave, and of course, let me start by putting out a disclaimer that this is not in any way stopping anybody from leaving. I myself, I was abroad for a greater part of 10 years, and came back in country, and sometimes I shortly out in and out. The question is, what drives your philosophy? And that's the most important thing. Do you want stability, or do you want expansion opportunity? And that's really key, because abroad will offer you stability. You'll be stable. You will be stable. You have a good standard of living. But standard of life, I do not know about that, because for me, standard of living has more to do with the quality of life that you live, the housing, the society, everything. But standard of life itself has to do with that satisfaction, happiness factor, family and love. And trust me, that is more important to me than family, than standard of living. Because I look at myself and ask myself, what is my destiny? So even if my destiny was to come on there and inspire people, and I do it better in Africa or in Nigeria, that's what drives me. That's what keeps me happy. That's what keeps me fulfilled. So I'd like people to define what is important to them. But of course, before we even get to the point of definition, we need to understand where different people are on the Abraham Maslow's pyramid of philosophy and needs. And that's really important. So someone will say, well, someone is struggling to even eat. Why are you talking about philosophy and what drives them? And that's true. That's true. I do get that people are living for economic reasons. And sadly so that Nigeria is not providing that. But I'm just talking in the long term that when you get past that economic drive to live or Japa, then it becomes more obvious at the top of the Abraham Maslow's philosophy, pyramid. You begin to ask yourself, what matters to me? Is it the standard of living or the standard of life? And this is where the reflection happens. Personally, I see my life more value-driven than money-driven. I'm interested in adding value, and that's why I'm here. I feel there's a problem, and that nobody, not even the World Bank, not even the IMF, can solve Nigeria's problem. Nigeria's problem will be solved by Nigerians who dare passionately to think that they can't solve the problem.
Well, let me ask you this last question, Dr. Enang. Now, the former Minister for Transportation had a funny way of trying to deter Nigerians from leaving the country. And he was like that in Nigeria, you have opportunities and you can become a minister. You can become a governor in just a twinkle of an eye. Does that not sound absurd to you? That that would be the only reason that Nigerians should be wary of traveling outside. What about other pertinent issues other issues that are supposed to be tackled within the polity to ensure that life is better for Nigerians? Is Nigeria all about just politics and politicking?
Yeah, I mean, I think with all due respect, I'd like to just point out some of the weaknesses in his position, and that is the fact that not everybody is interested in politics, and not everybody is interested in going into any appointed government position. A lot of people just want to live their quiet lives. Now, what I'd like to say is that people are moving abroad for very many reasons. Some are looking at opportunity for their kids. Some are looking at business expansion. So that's not that's a weak. No matter how bountiful the opportunity is, if at all it was in appointments and government, I think it's very weak because that is just speaking to a very minute number of people in the society that are interested to that. However, I think people get that for many reasons. The only thing I like to add is that I like people to do their assessment properly because I think Japa is one. But I've actually seen people that are lost in reality. And I use my words very carefully. I've seen people that are abroad, and I don't think they have actually understood the realities that they were going to face abroad. And they never. And the second thing is this. A lot of people are doing what we call impulsive Japa, not really Japa, not really strategic Japa. What I mean by that is, if I were to be going to a country, I'm going to ask myself, what is the kind of the right skill set that I need to be able to function in this country? For example, in the UK, you're less likely to make money if you go and you remain as an oil and gas engineer than if you went as a care, a nursing care giver, or if you went as, for example, if you went as an IT person, you're more likely to make money. So the thing is, before you Japa, rather than Japa based on impulse and then go and put heavy bills while gathering your skills there, why not begin to ask yourself, where am I going to? What province am I going to in that country? What skill sets are required? Do I need to start a certification course? What will give me an advantage? I think I'm tired of seeing my friends go there and spend the first 2 years burning through the money they have sold properties in Nigeria. While trying to get the right certification to get a job. I think that's the most frustrating thing. So my sort of landing on this one is be strategic in your Japa plan and do not follow another person's directions, and above all, seek the face of God. Everybody has a destiny to fulfill in this life. So do not feel that because someone's destiny is manifested in the UK or US means that yours is also in the US or in the UK. You should seek the face of God and let God direct your path.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Enang, for being part of the show. We really appreciate your inputs this morning.
Thank you. And, when the opportunity comes, we'll talk a lot more on the Japa system.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Well, you've been watching Political Spectrum right here on Spectrum Television. Thank you for being a part of this one. And this is where we draw the curtain for today. My name is Xavier Robert. Bye-bye.